Alright y'all, welcome back to the channel and to some more waterfowl patterning, and today we've got another new load that we've never tested, and I don't think I've tried anything from this brand before either, both on or off camera for that matter. So I'm definitely curious to see what these can actually do, since typically they seem to be kind of on the slightly higher end of the price range for a lot of other similar loadings on the same shelf. So we'll see what they can do. But as for the shells we're going to run today, I picked up some of these, the Migra waterfowl shells, but these ones are a 20 gauge, 3 inch, 1 ounce payload of steel 2s over steel 4s, moving about 1350 feet per second. So it is a stacked load, 2 different shot sizes. I've never tried a stacked load of steel before, I don't believe, nor a Migra shell in general. So this definitely should be a pretty interesting combination to try out. And they better perform pretty well for a 25 round box, being I think low to mid $30 price range, $32, $34, something like that. So at that price with this name brand, I'm hoping to see something good out of them. But as for the shotgun we're going to run them through, I brought out my Stevens 301 20 gauge. Maybe not everybody's first choice in waterfowl because it's a break action single shot, but it's a consistent testing medium for us to try those shells through. It's got a 26-inch barrel on it, and for the choke, I've got 3 of them out here today that we're going to try: an improved cylinder, a modified, and a full choke. And here are your 3 constriction numbers for each of my specific chokes. A lot of you guys like to see me run 3 different chokes when it comes to waterfowl stuff like this, so that's how we're going to do it. So as for today's test, everything is set up the same as usual. I've got 3 duck targets, all at 40 yards, and the chronograph so we can get our velocity. So we'll take 1 shot through each of those 3 different chokes and see what kind of pattern they all give us, and if there's a clear favorite for what choke these actually prefer. So let's get you guys a view of that target. We'll take our shots and then check out our results. I have some decent hopes for these shells, considering this 301 has been surprisingly good with steel loads so far. So let's take our shots and see what we get. Alright, so let's take a quick peek at our velocities here before we go look at our targets. Boss claim was 1350, so from our 26-inch barrel, we were seeing, I think on average, just a little bit over that 1350 mark. So we had 1402, 1366, and 1342 for an average at 1370. So yeah, just a little bit over that 1350 mark. That's perfectly fine for this load. We're definitely not pushing them too fast just yet, and still within 40 yards, a steel 2 and 4 is going to be just fine for a duck load. So looking fine up here, but how did they pattern through those different chokes? Let's go check it out and see. Alright, so now we're down here at our 40-yard papers, and we'll start over here with the improved cylinder pattern. And yeah, we do have a dead duck here. There are a couple of them down through the body and in the wings, but nothing really center mass. Our pattern might have favored just a touch low, and to be fair, there's nowhere he can go to and escape from you through that pattern, but it is a little bit more on the open side, and it's a little splotchy as well. You got a little bit of a hotter area right below his feet there, just off the edge of the duck target. Meanwhile, over here off the bottom left area, it's much thinner, and kind of same with up here just above his head. Big old thin patch there, while you have a good decent little bit of pellets that trails behind him. So it's just not the most evenly consistent pattern throughout. It's not a terrible pattern, and it would be fine out to 40 yards, especially if you're hunting in at 25 yards, maybe 30 yards over decoys or something like that. That's going to be fine, but it's definitely not perfect yet. And for me, I don't mind a little more broad of a pattern as long as it's even and doesn't have a bunch of inconsistent voids and stuff in it. So we're not quite there yet with our improved cylinder. So let's move over to our modified choke, because we definitely improved quite a bit there. And here's that modified choke pattern. Right off the bat, you can immediately see a difference with what's on the duck paper there. You've got a lot of pellets right through the center mass area or just around him. And still, I think those shells pattern just a touch low on us. It seems to be a little bit of a trend here with all 3 patterns. At least the hottest area is just a touch low. And at least now we start to see a pretty decently hot, say middle 15 inches of the pattern or so. It's still not perfect. There's a void right off the bottom right of that duct paper there that I don't really like, and that's kind of right in the middle of the core area. And around the edges, we still scattered a few pellets kind of off in no man's land, so it's not the most even spread still, but that is absolutely a way better pattern than the improved cylinder choke gave us. I wouldn't be scared to hunt with that pattern, but we have seen better from other steel waterfowl shells through that exact same choke and shotgun combo. Mainly something like the Winchester dry lock shells. Those did really nice. Now this is a very solid pattern. There's not much wrong with it. It's not perfectly even, but it's absolutely usable. And here's that full choke pattern. Initially, it's pretty similar to what the modified choke gave us as far as our core area goes, which I think is still just a touch low. You've still covered him in pellets, no doubt about that. And this is a better pattern than the improved cylinder choke gave us, without a doubt. But I think once we hit the full choke mark, we started to just go the other way with our pattern and start to kind of blow the edges out just a little bit. You can see we definitely picked up a number of little straggly bits around the edges and stuff. We kept a pretty decently even spread throughout the main core area of the pattern there in the middle, but I do think it's a little bit more blown open than what the modified choke gave us. This is still not a bad pattern at all. It's more than usable enough, just like that. Easily out to 40 yards, you're going to be just fine with it, but I think the modified choke was the winner. And now I'll go ahead and pop up 3 pictures side by side of all of these different patterns so you can see them lined up directly next to each other. I still think the modified choke is the best overall pattern today. The mod and full are definitely better than the improved cylinder. They're way more consistent, but if you want a little more wiggle room and you're going to be hunting in at closer ranges, there's nothing wrong with that improved cylinder either. It would still do the job perfectly fine. For me, I would take that mod choke out of these 3 patterns. Overall, these don't seem to be a terrible shell. They're definitely way better than some of the steel loads we've tested, that's for sure. However, I don't think they're the top dogs. They show decent patterns and there's a lot of pellets on the paper, but they still are a little bit splotchy or a little bit inconsistent throughout some of these patterns. So good, but not quite perfect either. And for a Migra shell at the price they are, 30 and some change a box, I hoped for a touch more even or more consistent of a spread throughout these different chokes. Still, not terrible shells, but for me, I'm probably still going to use something like the Winchester dry locks if I run a 20 gauge for waterfowl. And here are the wads from those shells. From left to right, we have improved cylinder, mod in the middle, and full on the right. As far as damage goes, they all look almost identical. You really can't tell them apart too much. The improved cylinder choke does have 1 pellet that's kind of floating down in there in the bottom. The rest don't have anything. Other than that though, they all look very much the same. No major damage or anything out of the ordinary to see. Definitely nothing that I'm worried about all the way down here with this full choke either. No major wad damage or anything like that. So overall, I think the wads did fine for today's test. Definitely nothing I'm concerned about. Alright y'all, well, what did you think about these results right here? Definitely some pretty interesting patterns, and from a Migra shell, I've heard a lot of good things about them, and they're not the cheapest thing on the shelf, so I expected a pretty nice pattern, and I would say this mod and full choke right here did pretty solid. There's not a ton to complain about, especially with that modified choke there, but they're not quite perfect either. It's like they're kind of 80, maybe 90% there. If we can get rid of some of those voids or inconsistencies, we would have a great performing option on our hands. And that might just be a characteristic of stacked shells yet again. Stacked and blended shells have been a little bit finicky, especially with turkey stuff in the past, so maybe it extends to waterfowl steel stuff as well, to where they're just a little bit picky and you gotta find the right combination for them. That's definitely a legit possibility here. But leave all your thoughts down below. Is that about what you expected to see? Were you a little surprised one way or the other? Have you ever tested any of these Migra waterfowl shells, whether it's 20 gauge or something else? And if so, what kind of results have you seen? Is that a pattern or a combo you would hunt with? And if so, which choke would you actually choose there? My pick would probably be that modified choke. And what other waterfowl oriented shells do you guys want to see us test when it comes to 20 gauge? Let me know all that down below. But with that being said, I've got some more testing to get done for you guys, so I'm going to get back to it. As always, we have the channel Instagram as well as the mailbox where you can send stuff if you'd like. All that information will be in the description if you're interested in it, but I'm going to get back to it, so I'll see y'all in the next one.